The Transformers deck building game is a 1 to 5 player cooperative or competitive game designed by Matt Hyra and Dan Blanchett and published by Renegade Game Studios. It plays in less than an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many people are playing. No matter how you play the game, it will always end when you either defeat 3 Decepticon bosses or when a card needs to be added to the matrix from the main deck and the main deck runs out. In this video, we're going to take a look at the setup and most of the rules. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like this video so we can keep making videos like this one. To set up the game, you must first decide if you are playing a competitive or cooperative game. I'm going to show the setup for a 2-player cooperative game because that requires more steps than the competitive setup. First, separate the main deck cards from all other cards. In your first game, you can choose to remove Decepticon schemes and co-op schemes and place them back in the box. Also, in a co-op or solo game, you will remove all relic cards and put them back in the box. Shuffle the main deck of cards. Second, the number of players in the game determines the number of cards in the matrix. In a 5-player game, you will make a 4x5 matrix. In a 3 to 4-player game, set up a 4x4 card matrix. And in a 1 to 2-player game, set up a 3x4 matrix like this one. Take cards from the main deck and place them face down to match the dimensions required. Once the initial matrix has been created, use the remaining main deck cards to make 3 separate stacks, each with the same number of cards based on the number of players in the game. For a 1-player game, each stack should have 7 cards. In a 2-player game, each stack should have 9 cards. In a 3-player game, the stack should have 11 cards. 13 cards for 4 players and 15 cards for 5 players. Make a 4th stack with only 5 cards no matter the player count. Return all the remaining main deck cards to the box. They will not be used in this game. Sort the 6 Decepticon boss cards into 3 separate piles depending on level. For example, all level 1 bosses will be in a single pile. Shuffle these 2 card stacks until you are unsure of which boss is on top. Add a level 1 boss to stack 1 of main deck cards, a level 2 to stack 2, and a level 3 boss to stack 3. I like to keep my stacks in the left to right order so that I know which is which as I do this step. You can return the remaining boss cards to the box without looking at them. Shuffle each stack with the added boss without mixing up the order of the stack. Only in co-op solo, you will also shuffle the 5 cooperative scheme cards and place 1 of them into each of the 3 stacks and shuffle accordingly. Place the remaining 2 back into the box. After all of this shuffling, place stack 3 on top of stack 4, stack 2 on top of these stacks, and finally stack 1 will go on top of this deck. Be careful not to shuffle any more from this point on in the game. This reconstructed main deck will get placed next to the matrix. On the other side of the matrix, make a vertical row of 3 stacks, 16 face-up transform and roll-out cards, 10 face-down encounter cards, shuffle this stack, and 20 face-up damage cards. Each player now needs to set up their own play area. Determine which character you are about to play in this game. You can choose which character you wish or shuffle them and deal 1 to each player. All characters will start the game in Alt mode, shown at the top of the card. Find your Oddbot standee and place it on the character card. Take 6 courage, 1 firepower, 1 patrol, 1 fix, and 1 reserves to form your personal starting deck. Shuffle your deck, then draw 5 cards to form a starting hand of 5 cards. All players start the game with 2 Energon. Take 2 small cubes from the general supply and place them near your character card. The larger cubes are 5 multipliers. Each player takes 3 -1 move or +1 power tokens for marking cards during their turn. This game makes reference to allies and adversaries. Adversaries are the opposing faction. If you are playing as Autobots, all Decepticons are adversaries. If you ever play as Decepticons, all Autobots are adversaries. Just remember you are playing as an Autobot in this game, and it will make understanding this text easier to understand in the game. Most regular size cards have a card type listed in the middle of the card right under the art. The exception is encounters. Each card type has a color to further help distinguish it from other cards. Let's take a look at some of the types of cards. Here is a Robot Autobot card. At the top we see the name of the card. In the top left corner we see the cost of the card. Next we see the power value of the card. This is shown with an electric symbol next to it. Below this we see the range of the card's power and block. Next we see the move value of the card with an arrow next to it. In the middle we see the current type. This one is Robot Autobot. Next we see the card's in-text ability. If the card has an Energon ability, that will be below the text in this orangish-pink box. Finally, there may be a reward a player receives if they successfully battle this card. However, you do not gain rewards for battling Autobots unless a card says otherwise. This may be a hint that we will be able to battle as Decepticons in the future. When you buy an ally card, it immediately goes into place in front of you as an ongoing or start of turn effect. They stay in place unless an effect says otherwise. Be aware that when some Decepticon bosses appear, they will scare away your ally cards temporarily. All allies are unique and may control any number of them. Transform and rollout cards are always available to buy from the market no matter where you are in the matrix. Damage cards cannot be bought. They are only gained via card effects. Cooperative scheme cards provide significant challenges to the Autobots during co-op games, but they may be thwarted by crafty players. Each one is unique. The reward of thwarting a co-op scheme is helping your team out. The Decepticon bosses have been seeded into the main deck after placing cards in the matrix, so there will never be a boss in the matrix at the start of the game. Bosses have attacks that affect all players when first revealed, and may either have ongoing or start of turn effects that impact the active player until defeated. When you confront and defeat a boss, you get the card and place it face down into your vault. Decepticon schemes are unique. When you thwart one of these schemes, the card will go face down into your vault and you will earn the designated victory points at the end of the game. These schemes are used in both competitive and cooperative games. Encounter cards are placed in the face down stack on the opposite side of the matrix from the main deck. You draw a card from the stack when your Autobot is ambushed or when you are confronting an adversary. All encounter cards are unique. Maneuver cards are combat abilities and effects that can be earned by buying the card. There are 2 copies of these cards. Relics are powerful cards you can discover and use to great effect. These cards will only be used in the competitive game. Most main deck cards cost between 2 and 5 power to buy. Relics will cost 7 or 8, but they are always worth it. Relics are worth 3 victory points at the end of the game if you can get it into your vault before the end. You may put a relic into your vault immediately upon buying it, or at the end of one of your turns when it's in play. However, when the third boss appears, it might be too late. All relics are unique. Robot cards come in 2 factions, the Autobots and the Decepticons. When you battle and defeat an adversary, gain the victory points and any other text listed at the bottom of the card and place it face down in your vault. If they are not an adversary, you may buy them instead, putting the card into your discard pile. Game text that refers to robots do not include bosses, which are a different card type. Sites are locations of importance that cannot be bought. Each one has some form of benefit to robots in that space. Some have cost to use their game text, but others will just give you a free benefit. Each of these cards is unique. Each may only be activated once per turn. Starter cards are just your 10 starting cards that aren't as good as the cards that you can get from the Matrix. Technology cards represent equipment and utility that will aid you in your endeavors, but as tools, they typically don't grant you an additional move. Each technology has 2 copies. We're now ready to learn about gameplay. The game is played in turns, starting with the first player and going clockwise. During your turn, you can take actions with your character. If you battle an adversary or confront a boss, the other players may be able to assist you. At the start of your very first turn, you will teleport to any space in the matrix. Do not flip over the card that you land on. You must use move or card effects to flip cards in the matrix face up. Here are all the things you may do on your turn. We'll talk about each in detail in a minute. You may play a card, move your Autobot, search, buy or battle, activate Energon abilities, transform, or confront a Decepticon boss. Most of these may be done as many times as you want on your turn unless otherwise stated. The main one that you can only do once per turn is confronting a Decepticon boss. When you're done taking any actions that you want to take, you'll follow the steps to end the turn. First, announce your turn is over. Any remaining power and move is lost. Second, refill the matrix. If there are any empty space in the matrix, add 1 card from the top of the main deck face down into each of these empty spaces. Maintain the original boundaries of the initial matrix setup. However, if there are no empty spaces in the matrix to refill, reveal the top card of the main deck, and if the reveal card is a boss, the active player must choose and destroy a card in the matrix that is not a visible adversary or scheme. Flip it face up. If it's an adversary or scheme, leave it in place. If you ever reveal an adversary, any Autobots in that space are ambushed before choosing new cards to destroy. Place the newly arrived boss space up in the empty space. Make sure you resolve any reveal attacks and an ambush as normal. If you ever reveal a card and it is not a boss, simply destroy it. If the main deck is empty and a card needs to be added to the matrix or it is destroyed, the game ends immediately. After you've refilled the matrix or destroyed any cards, discard all of the cards in hand and the cards you played during your turn. Ally cards, or those with the ongoing keyword, will remain in place next to your character card. Also remove all 1 minus movement tokens from your character. Instead of discarding relics, you may choose to just store it in your vault instead, so that you score the victory points listed at the end of the game. Draw a new hand of 5 cards. There are 3 basic actions: transform, move, and search. When you transform, you may do this anytime, even during another player's turn. Spend one Energon and flip your character from one bot mode to alt mode or vice versa. And when you move, you may move your Autobot one space orthogonally in the matrix either up or down or left or right, but never diagonally. If the move you are spinning is marked as flight, you may move diagonally for that movement value only. In order to search, flip a card in the same space as your Autobot face up. This will cost 1 move point. Energon abilities can be used anytime during the current turn, unless they are designated as Confront or Assist. These abilities are special conditions which govern their use. Each Energon ability may be activated only once per turn. When you play a card with in-game text, resolve it immediately. For example, assist text will only apply when you play this card to assist another player during a battle against an adversary. Movement value can be gained from cards you play or from your character's alt mode to go from space to space in the matrix. Space is an area of the matrix that could hold a card. Move value of 1 will allow your Autobot to move from one space to an adjacent space. When you move, it's helpful to rotate the card to show you have used the move. You can use the movement tokens on your character card to show you've used that movement. Move spent in a single turn does not reset if you transform into bot mode and then back into alt mode. Movement may also be spent to search a card in the matrix. As you play cards, you will add up their power. You may use this power to buy new cards and or battle adversary cards. Whenever you buy or battle, you will reduce your current power. You may continue to buy or battle as long as you have enough power to spend. If you don't have enough power left, you cannot buy or battle against a new card. Any game text that instructs you to gain a card does not use your power. The card is acquired at no cost to you. Cards you gain will always go to your discard pile, just like the cards that you buy. Like I said before, you may spend one Energon to perform the basic action of transforming your character. This may be done at any time during any player's turn for any reason you choose. However, you cannot transform while another effect is being resolved. For example, when you draw an encounter card, you cannot transform after seeing the effects of that encounter card. You may still transform after the effects of the encounter card have been resolved though. Decepticons will appear throughout the game. Whenever an adversary is revealed in a space where one or more Autobots are present, draw an encounter card and resolve the ambush text at the top of the card. A surprise ambush is an attack against all Autobots in that space. If you flip an adversary face up and no Autobots occupy that space, no ambush occurs. If you move or another player moves an Autobot onto an adversary that is already face up, only the moving Autobot is ambushed. Anyone already there is safe at this time. They are not ambushed again at the start of their turn for being there. When a boss is first revealed, resolve the reveal attack against each adversary player separately, no matter where they are in the matrix. Then the ambushes you draw resolve against each adversary player. Blocking a reveal attack does not prevent the subsequent ambush draw. The main text of an encounter card is only used when a player confronts an adversary. To battle a boss, you must confront them. A Decepticon scheme might require you to confront regular Decepticons as well. Some confrontation effects on the encounter cards are attacks, but most are not and cannot be avoided with a block. Confrontation attacks can be very destructive, so if you're worried about them, it may be worthwhile to hold a card with block in your hand. When you have announced a confrontation, you cannot play any additional cards, but you can discard blocks to avoid attacks, as that is not playing a card. Block cards may have a range just like other cards. Each block card will protect one player. Each player who fails to block the attack will be affected by it. Adversaries who are not bosses are easy to defeat, so other players cannot assist unless you control damage. When you battle a boss, this is called a confrontation, and you will need more power than just a printed cost of the boss to defeat it. Other players may choose to assist you when battling a boss, even if you have no damage. It's important to remember that the cards you control are only those cards out in play in the area in front of you, like allies, cards you have played on your turn, and character cards. Cards in your discard pile, hand, or deck are not considered to be controlled, only owned. Destroying a card removes it entirely from the game. Here are the steps for a confrontation. First, move onto or within range of the adversary and play cards to generate power. Resolve any applicable ambushes. Activate any desired non-confront energon and abilities. Next, if you control damage, your fellow players may each place one card face down to assist you if it is not a boss. They may assist you even if you don't control damage when confronting a boss. Cards placed in this way must be able to generate at least one power and have enough range to reach the adversary's space. If no players assist you, you may decline the battle and spend your power elsewhere. If any players assist you, you must continue the battle. When you enter a confrontation with the boss, you'll shuffle all 10 encounter cards together, then drop the top encounter card and resolve the confrontation text. If a card you control is destroyed in this step, you lose all power and effects generated by that card previously in the turn. Players may optionally now activate Energon abilities on the cards they have played. Remember that each Energon ability may only be used once per turn. If you have successfully defeated an adversary, gain the rewards listed at the bottom of the card, and then place the card into your vault face down. Each player who resolved an assist also gains the rewards, but only the active player puts the defeated adversary into the vault. If the battle is not successful, the adversary remains in place and no one earns that reward. I will also point out that in solo play, you will receive Energon instead of victory points. The same is true in cooperative mode. When you have concluded a battle, discard all cards other than ally cards and those with the ongoing keyword. All the power and move generated up to that point in your turn is lost. All assist cards are also discarded whether they were resolved or not. If this battle defeated the third and final boss, the game ends immediately before discarding or vaulting any cards. If you assisted, don't forget to gain your victory points too. If the game is not over and you have cards remaining in your hand, you may play them and continue your turn as usual. Unless this was a confrontation. Then you will immediately end your turn. As an example, I would compare my power to the current adversary's cost here. If I have more power, then I have defeated this adversary. Don't forget to resolve the reshuffled confrontation deck each time you have an encounter. Play will continue in this manner, with players refilling the matrix at the end of their turns and exploring it to defeat adversaries and gain cards during their turns. The game will end immediately if the third boss is defeated or if the main deck runs out. For this reason, if you are playing competitively, relics played during the last turn of the game will not provide any victory points because they didn't end up in the respective player's vault. You've just learned the basics of how to play the Transformers deck building game. In a cooperative game, no scorekeeping is needed. All references to victory points are Energon instead. Also, in co-op or solo mode, you may not confront a boss if there are any non-boss adversaries currently face up in the matrix. When a card is contributed to a cooperative scheme, place it underneath the card, which may take more than one turn to defeat. When it is defeated, destroy the cards underneath that card by removing them from the game. Assists in co-op games may also happen at any time, regardless of whether or not you control damage. In addition, if any player controls 5 or more damage, or when a card needs to be added to the matrix and there aren't any more, the game ends immediately. If you want to play in expert mode for co-op or solo, play without victory points converting to Energon. There are also some schemes which are intentionally impossible to defeat in solo in order to raise the difficulty of the game. If a card's text ever contradicts the general reading of the rules, the card's text will take precedent and should be followed first. This is the golden rule of cards. There are a few specific card clarifications on pages 18 and 19 of the rulebook if you need those. What's your favorite Transformer character? Hot Rod is one of my favorites. Do you enjoy competitive or cooperative games more? Let me know in the comments, and happy gaming.